Well, good morning and welcome to a day that many people have been waiting for. Not only us, not just us, more importantly, many victims of this cretin's crimes, Adam Montgomery. We are here to watch the live sentencing of Adam Montgomery, who is being forced by the courts to face his comeuppance after failing to show up for one single day of his daughter's murder trial. One single day. And I'm going to remind you right now what he said in court. This is him in his sentencing for a different charge. Hey, Johnny, good to see you. A different charge, okay? This is him.
So I understand that I was found guilty by a jury, and I'm not here to dispute that at all. The only consideration that I ask of you this morning is for you not to consider anything as it relates to the case regarding my daughter Harmony. I did not kill my daughter Harmony, and I look forward to my upcoming trial to refute those offensive claims. So I understand that I was found guilty by a jury, and I'm not here to dispute that at all. The only consideration that I ask of you this morning is for you not to consider anything as it relates to the case regarding my daughter Harmony. I did not kill my daughter Harmony, and I look forward to my upcoming trial to refute those offensive claims.
To refute those offensive claims. Well, dude, you were found guilty. You were found guilty. And so here we are. And it is that time. Now, if you recall, when Adam Montgomery's trial started, at first he was adamant that he was going to show up in court. Hello, everybody coming in. Please remember to hit the thumbs up. He was adamant about his innocence. He, in the first days of the trial, he kept creating all kinds of stalling mechanisms. He kept being a jerk, basically. He kept putting up obstacles. He fought and fought and fought. He kept declaring his innocence, but acting like a guilty person. And finally, like the day before the trial, he had a video conference with the judge because he was pulling all these stalling techniques. And it was after the first day of court, they went to go pick him up. They went to go transport him from the jail to the courtroom, and he refused to go. And my understanding is that it was because he didn't want to be tested. Or that was the excuse that he gave. But the system had put all these things in place to get him transferred from the jail to the court, and they were pissed that they had put all these systems in place, and he thumbed his nose at it all. So they sat there with him on video and said, you can't keep doing this. If you're not going to come to court tomorrow, you need to tell us in advance. But he kept doing the same thing. They would show up to pick him up, and he would, either refuse to go or he would throw a fit. So he finally just stopped coming, and he did not show up for one day of court. While all of, all of Harmony's friends and family, anybody who cared about her, the foster families who had cared for her, that's right. He didn't want to, thank you, Solo. Thank you. He didn't want a strip search. That's what it was. Sorry. I appreciate that. So all the people who were there showing up day after day, having to hear of the horrific details of that beautiful child's death, he couldn't show up. The father who declares his innocent. Sounds like they're coming in. I will make it wider screen when they start actually playing audio and stuff. Now, I was just watching a news clip earlier where, Harmony has an older brother, some brothers. Hello, Marie. Hello, everybody coming in. Please remember to hit the thumbs up. Harmony has siblings. One of them, his name is Jameson. And that child, Jameson, has been adopted by two fathers. One of them is a fairly well-known TV personality. I hope so, Johnny. A fairly well-known TV personality. I think he's like a news reporter in a specific region. Anyway, I'm sorry if I'm not knowing these details clearly enough. But anyway, they were just talking about how, Jameson wants to give a victim impact statement, but the court is not allowing the parents to give it for him, his dad's to give it for him. And he's 7 years old. And so they're worried about the trauma of Jameson having to stand up in court and give the victim impact statement. So we'll see what ends up happening. I don't know what they ended up deciding, but Washington, D.C. reporter. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tess Mack. I knew he was a reporter of some sort. I wasn't sure exactly from where, but thank you. Very well spoken. I don't know, Johnny. I'm not sure why the child has to. The court is saying that the judge will decide this morning. Okay. Yeah, so I've been streaming Chad Daybell's trial all morning, so I haven't caught up on everything, but I did see that one where Jameson's dads are very concerned about that. What I'm curious about is a number of things, right? Will they wheel Adam Montgomery in? Is he going to have to be restrained? Hey, Caroline. Hey, Dynamite. Is he going to have to be restrained? Right, Tess Mac. That's what I heard them say, that if the dads read anything, it has to be Jameson's words. I don't know. I've just never heard about these very specific rules. Maybe it's a state thing. So I'm wondering if they're going to have to restrain Adam in any way, shape, or form. He's a rather unpredictable guy, right? He says one thing and then he does another. He says he's innocent and he's going to defend himself about these outrageous claims and offensive claims, and then he doesn't even show up for frickin' court, right? So he's a rather unpredictable guy. We'll see if he needs to be in any sort of restraint other than the normal restraints that a prisoner is in, right? The other is who is going to speak. Who all is going to speak? I'm not sure, Teacup. I'm not sure why. Maybe. So who all is going to speak? Will Kayla factor into this whatsoever? Does Kayla bring in a statement? And if she does, and if she vouches for Adam, well, yikes. I mean, we've always known that she's still, it was clear from her testimony on the stand during the trial that she's still in love with him in one way, shape, or form. She feels attached to him. She feels guilty for being the key witness against him. So will Kayla factor into any of this? Hello, Truth Matters. That's right. Kayla was released on parole. She was released on parole like 2 months after the trial, Adam's trial, something like that. It was crazy. I mean, especially after hearing what she witnessed and was okay with. You know, what she oh, where would we find that out, Cutie Pie? Because she, I thought she got out. I thought she was released on parole, but she didn't meet all the conditions. Exactly, Teacup. She got more emotional about betraying Adam than about the actual death of this little girl that she witnessed. Yeah, that's what I thought. Vine still exists? Sorry. I didn't know that Vine was still in existence. Sorry, that's a whole other thing. Or would you mean Grapevine? Yeah, exactly. Like Truth Matter says, she wanted one more time with him. She was trying to make one more time with him part of the negotiation as part of her deal. And why are you saying Vine? Is Vine a source for that information? So, oh, I'm getting a notification from Court TV. It says he arrived.
Here's an interesting moment.
He arrived at the courthouse.
Oh, breaking news. Adam,
but they don't show it, I don't think. Let me see if they show it, because I just got a notification that says Court TV. Says he has arrived at the courthouse. So he's there. He is there. I know, Adam, keep your dang tongue in your mouth. This is a serious matter. You made it, PKC. They aren't in the room yet. They haven't opened up the audio yet. You mean her Harmony's foster mother? Oh, that's right. Her biological mother. Yeah. You know, for all of her faults, Rachel's biological mother was there every single day of the trial. Every single day. And that's, putting your money where your mouth is. She seems truly contrite about her role in all of this. So I would imagine she may be giving a victim impact statement. And that is the other thing. That is the big open question on all of this. Where the hell is Harmony? Where is she? Right? Why won't, this is all done. He's being sentenced now. It's all said and done. Why can't he just tell us where she is? Oh, Vineland is a nationwide victim notification system that alerts you when any inmate is released. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't know that. I really appreciate that. That's right. It is the only control he has left, LA 326. Thank you for being here. Hello, Robin Greer. Vine link. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know that common human decency and common sense does not register with a person like Adam Montgomery, but still, I mean, that is the so Court TV put up a short about, saying that he arrived at the courthouse, but they have no footage of him arriving at the courthouse. They just said he's arrived at the courthouse. And then it just shows the old pictures of him. Okay. So at least we know he has arrived at the courthouse. And maybe Court TV is just like, hang in there, folks. Hang in there, folks. We know we're late. I agree, Teacup. That's how twisted. That is how incredibly twisted these people are, and the way they think is, well, at least they don't know where she is. At least I can have that. At least he thinks it's something that he'll be able to use and trade on in the future. But what does he have left to trade for? It's done. Right? Like that jerk, Powell, who he went to the grave. He took himself and his kids to the grave without telling anyone where Susan Powell was. He could have very easily told someone where Susan Powell was, and he just blew himself and his kids up in his house with the CPS worker outside watching it all happen. Right? And that is how the mind of a very, very sick, twisted, sadistic criminal works. You think his dad knows where Susan is? Probably. You're probably right. He's just as sick and twisted as Josh Powell. He may be even more sick and twisted, which was what caused what caused Josh Powell to be so sick and twisted. And Josh Powell's brother jumped off of a roof. It was so bad. Right? That poor kid jumped off of a roof. Actually, the dad is dead. You're right. The dad died in jail, didn't he? Or he died just after getting out of jail. Something like that. But he is dead. I think you're right. Yeah. So let's see if there's anything on. Oh, I'm hearing sound. We're hearing the sound. Whenever you start hearing the sound come in, you know that they're starting to get ready to go. So just so you know, the state has asked for 56 years. I don't know. That seems very low to me. I don't know. Like, why just 56 years? Um, if Judge had listened to Rachel Harmony mom that day in court, I believe Harmony would be alive today with her mom. Yeah. Possibly. It's sad to think about. I know. It should be life, no parole. I mean, at the very least. This well, while we are waiting for them, this just happened outside of court. No, but you can't hear it. That's Harmony's mom. All right. Yeah. She's definitely a lot more healthy than when definitely a lot more healthy than when she had to give up her daughter, which unfortunately led to this series of events, but we don't know if this wouldn't have happened anyways, unfortunately. Now they're pointing at the door, which usually means they think that the person is going to be coming right through the door. But no, it was just a tease, just a tease. I'm reading through some Twitter and people are like very anxious. You know, come on, let's go. What's the holdup? And you know, I got to say, Judge Judy's sitting here going like this. Come on. And Darrell is objecting to the time that it's taking for Adam. I wonder if he's putting up a fight. I wonder if he's putting up a fight. Is he doing this? He probably is. And, you know, if he's throwing a tantrum, there's body worn, you know, there's body cam that may be able to, that may be available eventually. That's true, Rachel. Yeah, so what I'm reading is the prosecution requested that he face the maximum sentence of 56 years to life. So 56 years to life is what's being requested. But why not life without parole for somebody who literally beat a child in the head to death? He bludgeoned her with his fists. And before that was abusing and basically starving her. My God. There's that real tall prosecutor. All right. Is he coming? Let's see this. Ooh. Big bad Adam Montgomery. There he is. All right, turn on the sound, people. There's the badass. He's looking very angry today, isn't he? Looking super angry and very roided out. Yeah, he does look horrible.
Please be seated. All right, council approach.
My goodness. He looks very excited.
216-2022 CR20 and 216-2022 CR2372. Council identify yourselves for the record.
Good morning, Your Honor. Benegatti for the state. First officer.
Caroline Smith with the public defender.
I know.
All right, good morning. One
Probably
moment,
have it all
please.
ready. He literally looks like he's on something. Very anxious energy. Thank you, Cutie Pie. Appreciate it. He looks seriously, he looks horrible. He looks angry. He looks like his veins are ready to pop out of his skull. Yeah, no sound. That's not me. I'm not doing that. Look at the guard looking at him. Look at the guard looking at him. The guard looking at him seems quite concerned. It sounds like they might be having a very intense. Look at him, man. That guy, he's the freaking face of evil. Is there anything more evil than that man sitting right there? Look how dark, the darkness surrounding him. I mean, if the judge was considering a lighter sentence, yeah, he does. He looks concerned and scared. It's almost like an entire the weather in the room changed as a result of him walking in the room. Like it dropped 50 degrees and everything went black. You know, we sit here and we watch from the safety of our homes, you know, behind a screen, but we can see the energy coming off of him. Imagine what it's like in that room. Imagine. Imagine what it's like in that room, especially for the people that have been going through this with him all this time. And that's what it is. I think, Johnny, as even though we all know that he's evil and bad and terrible, we've thought all of the worst things about him, he still doesn't want to be humiliated. He still can't stand the idea of being publicly humiliated. That's how twisted this guy is. He's humiliated himself by being the worst possible type of human being you can be. Right? He basically took custody of a child he didn't really want and basically starved and beat her to death. I don't. There's.
Smith?
I don't
Pardon?
know of a
Just making sure you're ready for the state to proceed.
more cowardly act.
When you are ready, Attorney Gotti, you may proceed.
Thank you. Your Honor, as you know, the defendant has been found guilty of beating Harmony Montgomery in July of 2019, guilty of murdering Harmony Montgomery, a child under the age of 13, and then transporting and hiding and abusing her body and compacting her into smaller and smaller bags and ultimately disposing of her on March of 2020, and tampering with witnesses afterwards to ensure that this horror story that we heard at trial stayed silent. Under our law, after the second-degree assault, after what he did to her and the other crimes to hide other acts to hide his crimes, under our law in New Hampshire, that means that the mandatory minimum sentence that the defendant must receive for second-degree murder of a child under 13 is at least 35 years in prison. So the question for us today isn't why the defendant should get the minimum mandatory sentence. The question is, how can the minimum sentence ever apply to the crimes that were committed by this man? How can the minimum ever apply when he beat Harmony the night before and the morning of, and time again as he drove from the methadone clinic to Burger King and he beat her to death and then covered her up to suffer and die in the car while he ate his food? The state's position is, how can the minimum ever apply when this court recognized at the last sentencing hearing that he had 15 years of convictions for, quote, some of the most violent and egregious criminal behavior, end quote, that this court had ever seen? How can the minimum ever apply when he's lied over and over again that he didn't kill his daughter and that she was safe somewhere when he was first asked by many different people? How can the minimums ever apply when he conceded at trial the crimes that involved the horrors that he inflicted upon her body from December 7th on forward up and until March, when he dumped her from the U-Haul that he had conned others into renting for him? How can the minimum ever apply when he's had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to tell investigators and others where she is right now, and she can't be laid to rest? There's nothing minimal about the crimes that he is being convicted for today. The state is not going to restate everything that's put forth in the state's sentencing memorandum word for word. The state's recommendation at this time is that the defendant serve 4 to 8 years, stand committed for the crime of second-degree assault, which occurred in July of 2019. and that should then be followed by consecutive sentences of 3.5 to 7 years for his falsifying physical evidence, for what he did to Harmony's body, with a concurrent sentence of 12 months for the abuse of corpse misdemeanor, followed by another consecutive 3.5 to 7 years for witness tampering, for beating his spouse to ensure that she would stick to the story he created, followed by not less than a minimum of 45 years to life from the charge of second-degree murder. The state recognizes that this is just a recommendation. The decision today lies with the court, regardless of what the state says. But that's the state's recommendation today. However, Your Honor, if the defendant will right now tell us where he hid her body, sufficient for us to find her, if he'll tell us right now where he put that CMC bag, so that her family and the Manchester Police Department can recover her remains in the next 7 days, then the state would amend its recommendation to a minimum of 35 years to life and let the second-degree assault, falsifying physical evidence, abuse of a course, and witness tampering sentences be served concurrent. But right now, Your Honor, if he tells us where we can recover her and we do so within the next 7 days, we will change our recommendation to 35 years.
What? So the state's trying to bargain with him. Fuck.
Since that offer has been rejected, Your Honor, that is yet another reason why the minimum should not apply. What I just said was not a stunt. It was not a theatrical event. I stated
Jesus.
in closing arguments that there are moments in life where we are tested, where our failure or our success lies in whether we do the right thing at that moment in time. And time again, and about 30 seconds ago, the defendant chose again to be heartless and immoral and selfish and unapologetic, which for the purposes of you deciding his punishment and rehabilitation and his deterrence and coming up with the right sentence for him means that he has just yet shown you again in this courtroom, and for anybody else, that he is heartless, immoral, selfish, and an unapologetic murderer of his own child. Now, as I was saying again, there's certainly nothing minimal about what he did to Kayla Montgomery, to abusing her into lying for him. There's simply nothing minimal about what the defendant did to Harmony and what he did afterwards. And that's why now, having just given an opportunity, we're asking you to impose nothing less than 45 to life, the sentence of homicide. You should impose more, but 45 is a bare minimum that this defendant deserves for what he did to Harmony. She is gone forever. She didn't get sick and get old and pass away. Something didn't just happen that night. He happened. She wasn't able to be surrounded by the people that loved her. And instead, when this court determines punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation, it should consider that Harmony died in pain and in fear under a blanket. And nobody deserves that, especially a 5-year-old child. And that kind of death is different and weighs in favor of more than the minimum sentence here. You can, if there was a thief here, you could order the return of stolen property, or you could order restitution. When you sentence a defendant for an assault case, the victim can receive treatment and compensation for her injuries. But in a murder case, there's nothing directly that this court can do for Harmony. She's already ultimately paid the price of the defendant's anger and cruelty and frustration. But what can be done is recognize the value of her life and the terrible way she died by giving the defendant a significant prison sentence, something more than just the minimum, and certainly not the sentence that the defendant may ask you for in a few moments. You can make sure that he's not going to hurt another child. You can do that for Harmony. And in that process, you'll also be doing justice for the people who cared about Harmony, for the many people that worked hard to hold her killer accountable. Except most of those people, several of them are in the courtroom today. Many more are out there. some who are present here today would like a chance to address the court, Your Honor. Most notably, and I think has to be first and foremost, Your Honor, is Harmony's biological mother, Crystal Sorey. She's present here today. She has prepared a victim impact statement that we have written that we can provide to the court afterwards, but we would like her to be able to speak to you and present her thoughts.
Should we do so? Thank you. To the monster who murdered my baby. I did not kill my daughter, and I look forward to trial to refute those offensive claims. That is all you have said about my sweet daughter's life. Another lie, like all the other ones you've told. Like the cover story you told that you dropped her off with me, knowing full well and good if you had, she would be thriving right now. Not beaten and stuffed in a CMC bag where you put her. She had a life worth living, unlike your own. And it bothered you to your core that she was nothing like you and everything like me. Beautiful inside and out, funny, smart, sassy, loving, and most of all, kind. She wasn't a coward like you, and I'll be forever grateful for that. You're a coward who has to be in control of everything and everyone around you, insecure and paranoid. The list goes on. She is none of those things. She lit up a room when she walked in. She made a mark wherever she went, and you couldn't stand it. She was an incredible big sister. She loved her brother, Jameson, to her core, and I know she loved your sons too, no matter the picture you tried to paint of her. December 7th will forever be the darkest day of my life. The night you beat her to death, I woke up in the middle of the night in agonizing pain, from my head to my toes, and I felt like I was dying, not knowing, in the most brutal way, a part of me was dying. Suffering in that back seat for 20 minutes while you and your wife fed yourselves and your other children, and you got high. 20 minutes that you could have used to save her life. Did she cry for me? Did she scream? Did she beg you to stop? I'll never know. Because like I said, you're too much of a coward to tell the truth and do one good thing for Harmony. You may have taken her physically from me, but she is always, always with me. And I will forever look for her until the end of my days. But I hope that every day and every night you are on this earth, you hear nothing but my baby's giggle. I doubt you ever heard it in this life. All she knew with you was misery and fear. I hope you hear her sweet voice telling you to stop hitting her over and over, or how she looked the very last time you saw her, broken and bruised. You were supposed to protect her, yet you did the opposite. Harmony wasn't anything to you but property that you could throw away when she was more of a burden to you than a meal ticket. Your hatred for me led you to act on your monstrous, controlling ways, and you took her because you just could not let her come home where she belongs. My love for Harmony outweighs my hatred for you, but they both gave me the strength to listen to my instincts and to help the police put you away forever. Harmony will live on through me, and you can't do anything about it. You can't do anything to stop it. I wish you nothing but pain and misery for the rest of your pathetic life, and with or without you, we will find my daughter. I always knew you weren't a good person, which is why I left you. I just never knew to what extent, but now I know you're just plain evil.
That must have felt satisfying to her.
In addition, another member of
Her name is
Harmony's
Crystal.
family was Miss Brittany Sorey, her aunt. She would also like to address the board.
The words were true. Very much true.
To the most vile human on the planet. The day Harmony was born is the day that will forever feel like it was just yesterday. My sister was in labor and you were in prison. Always keeping you posted. I remember that phone call with you right after she was born and they were both in the recovery room. I was talking you down from how scared you were because you just wanted to be the best dad. And I believed in you and reminded you how good you were with my daughter, that you would be the best dad and not to worry. I couldn't even believe how wrong I actually was. You are a monster, Adam, not the monster who's in your nightmares or the ones that terrify you when you're little. You're the monster that pretends to be a daddy and then brutally abused, tortured, and beat your 5-year-old daughter to death for the accidents you caused by locking her in a room 24/7, traumatizing her and making it blatantly clear that she could not trust, count on, or come to you when she needed someone. You didn't fight for her for 4 years like you had Kayla claim on your behalf. You lied and you forged documents. You did it to have control again over something in my sister's life. You never for 1 second loved Harmony because if you did, she'd still be here today. You wanted to control her, and when you couldn't, over and over again because she reminded you of my sister, you took her from us because you didn't want anyone else to have her. More proof of the absolute coward you are. The fact that you sat in court at your gun trial, like my sister said, and tried to use Harmony for some sympathy by saying you cannot wait to refute the offensive claims that you killed your daughter and you didn't and you loved her. Jury selection day, you showed up smiling at the jurors, proving exactly how evil you are. Then tell the judge the day of opening statements that you did all but kill her and expect a bunch of people to believe yet another lie from you. Because your egotistical ignorance makes you believe you are somehow smarter than anybody. You have the nerve to claim to be a victim of the disease of addiction and how it destroyed your life and all the crybaby stories you tell. The fact is this: you are a selfish, evil, conniving, poor excuse for a human being, and I hope you sit in prison every day while she haunts you day and night until it's unbearable, because that's what you deserve. I used to call you my brother. We used to talk about everything. I've seen you break down and cry and open your heart up to me. Even when you first got Harmony, I messaged you and I told you that I would help in any way if I can, if you needed it for Harmony and wanted to be a part of her life. And just like anyone else that reached out, you blocked me. You had so many chances to change the result and let her go with people that loved her, but you didn't because you knew she would have told all about the abuse, so you killed her. If you're any type of man at all, Adam, or you ever loved her for 1 second, you would tell us where she is, so at least she can rest in peace after everything you put her mind, body, and soul through. Regardless, karma will get even because you don't destroy such a beautiful soul the way you did and not reap what you sow. So may it be.
Those were probably very powerful last words, but it was hard to hear because the microphone was, because she said them straight into the microphone. And
this particular event, who is not present here in the courtroom today, but as the victim of the crime, that is the victim of the crime of witness tampering, is Ms. Kayla Montgomery. She has prepared a statement. We've submitted there. We will be submitting that to the court as well. It has been provided to the defense counsel. She has asked a victim advocate to please read the statement for her.
If the victim advocate could please state her name for the record and also the Kayla Montgomery's statement.
Certainly.
My name is Amy Van Auken, and I'm reading a statement on behalf of Kayla Montgomery. Goodbye. I wanted to write a letter to you because it's the only way to tell you how I feel. I don't know about you, but I need some kind of closure. I will forever have a place in my heart for you, whether you believe me or not. You were my best friend, my husband, the person I chose to spend the rest of my life with. You are the father of our children we have together, and I'm forever grateful for having them. I will never forget the birth of our first son we have. That was one of the many best days of my life. We had just gotten married and started a family of our own. I'll never forget when your grandmother said to me, "You're the best thing that has ever happened to my grandson." I'll always remember the births of all the children we have. Also, when you stepped up to be a father to Harmony. You worked so hard to get custody of her, and it took a few years, but you got her. I won't forget the day we picked her up and brought her home. We were so excited. Then, during the summer, was when we both started to go downhill because of relapse. After 5 years of sobriety, that was the beginning of the chaos. By the time Thanksgiving came around in the year 2019, we were losing everything. My job, our place to live, and after living in a car for a few weeks, we lost that. At the same time, Harmony dies because of your anger and hitting her so many times. We didn't even know she passed away until the car died, and we had to take our kids out of the car. She didn't respond. She was lifeless. Then a couple years go by, and during those years, we had to keep quiet about her being gone. You told me to stick with the story that you dropped her off at 6 a.m. at Dunkin's, where I no longer worked at, and brought her to her mother, Crystal, so she could stay there because it was better for Harmony. Then you came and picked me up when my shift was done at 2 p.m. She wasn't in the car. She was with her mother. During those years of having to keep quiet, you started physically and mentally abusing me, accusing me of cheating on you, telling on you, and trying to kill you. The first time that you really hurt me was when you accused me of cheating and had me on the living room floor against the corner of the wall, telling me if I didn't tell you that I cheated on you, that you were going to F me up. When I never cheated on you and said that I didn't, you punched me right in the face a couple of times because you said I was lying, and I wasn't. So then I said, yes, I cheated on you so you wouldn't hit me, but you still did anyway. You started getting crazy when we would get high on crack. I told you I did things that I really didn't do because you said if I told you that I did whatever you'd accuse me of, that you wouldn't hit me, and I was dumb enough to believe you. No matter what I said or did, you would hit me, punch me, spit in my face, or would have me in a chokehold and cover my mouth so I couldn't scream. You are not the person I married, not the person who loved me and who never hurt me. It's like I married my father. I never would have thought I would have to run away from you until I knew I had to take our kids and leave you. I'll never forget that day either. It was one of the hardest things for me to do. The last couple of nights after you got arrested the first time, I was sleeping with a knife because I did not know what you were going to do to me. After I found out that you got arrested, I went back to our apartment to grab a few things, and then I made the decision of not going back to live there anymore. I couldn't stay in the apartment after a year of chaos with you in there. Just all bad memories, barely any good ones. We had about 5 months total that year of living there that were good times. Other than that, nothing but bad memories. I'm so angry and hurt by you. I know you probably hate me because I had to do the right thing, but also because of all the bad. Not only did you lose your rights to our children, but so did I. Now I'm going to have to keep fighting for them to at least be back in their lives. You seem to forget you cheated, not me, and you just left the kids and I for some girl, packed your stuff, and left to another state. I called you out on your BS when you're on your way to Maine, and I also called you out for being with someone else months before you left to Maine. You accused me, but you were the one cheating. The day you got arrested on January 2022, you called me and said to tell Kelsey you're sorry about her car. Yeah, right. That's all you're worried about, not your wife and children you may never see again. No apology for cheating on me and making me think I was crazy. So I got to do all I can to get back on track with my life. You caused so much hurt and pain. I don't even know why I still care about you and actually feel bad for you. Oh, maybe it's because I'm not a cold, heartless person and still have some care about you. I was in love with you once. Now I still love you because you're the father of our children. This is goodbye for now. Maybe I'll see you at the future in some point. Goodbye, Adam. And then she lists the day they started their relationship was October 8th, 2015. And the day they married was Harmony's birthday, June 4th, 2017.
Fuck you, Kayla.
Your Honor, one family member
Using this
heard yet is
opportunity
with
to get
regards
your
to
messages
a
in.
very young
Oh
man.
my
This is
God.
Harmony's younger brother, Jameson. He lived with Harmony up until the age of 1, saw her as late as 18 months in his life. Both of his parents are here, Mr. Blair Miller and also Mr. Jonathan Bobbitt Miller, and they have a statement they would like to present.
Your Honor, thank you so much for allowing us to speak here today. Good afternoon to you. My name is Blair Miller, and my husband Jonathan and I are here today on behalf of our son Jameson, who we adopted in 2019. He is a 7-year-old boy who came to us from foster care. Jameson and his sister, Harmony, were in and out of different foster homes together. They seem to be on a path of surviving their troubling relationships, their circumstances together. To understand the true impact that this loss has had on Jameson and will continue to impact him, you need to hear the stories he tells us and wants you to know. He wants everyone to know. When we first adopted Jameson, he would always tell us about Harmony. He would tell us about her beautiful blonde hair. He would tell us about her glasses. He still does. He would tell us about her bright blue eyes. He would tell us about her wonderful smile that lit up a room. He would tell us that she was there to help him. Jameson has constantly asked us, "Where's Harmony?" Recently, he once was struggling to go to bed. He looked off in the shadows of his closet and said, "Is that Harmony there, looking back at me?" These are no questions for a little boy to be asking. He no longer can hold on to that hope. Since learning about the death of innocent and beautiful Harmony, Jameson has suffered. Just a few weeks ago in school, his teacher asked him to draw a picture of his family. He drew a picture of his 2 dogs, his 2 brothers, his 2 dads, but then he put a heart above all of us, and inside that heart was the letter H. He said that was Harmony looking down on us. Jameson constantly asks us, "Who took my sister away?" Adam, you took away his best friend, his sister. You introduced murder into his life and forever created a void that can never be filled. We will never have the right answers for him on this and can only tell him Harmony is an angel now. Jameson will grow up forever wondering how this happened, how his sister, who looked over him in foster care, didn't have anyone looking over her. You chose, Adam, to take our little boy's sister away. You don't ever deserve another choice in a free society. Your Honor, we are asking you to impose the maximum sentence.
Your Honor, this courtroom, and especially Adam, I'm Jonathan Bobbitt Miller, and I'm the proud adopted dad of Jameson Miller, the proud young brother of Harmony. Harmony is the reason that we're all here today. Harmony, the child Adam that you murdered, you introduced a nightmare into our son. You introduced evil of this world to him. You have manipulated the criminal justice system until now, and trying to explain that to our 7-year-old son is hard. Before Jameson knew of Harmony's tragic fate, he would go to the door when the doorbell rung, and he would say, "Maybe she's found me." He would search a park, he would look at school, and if there was any girl that had blonde hair and glasses, he would go up to them and say, "Are you Harmony?" I'll never forget the day that we told Jameson that Harmony was in heaven. He's a very active kid. And that day, he just stopped and he held us and he said, "No, I need my big sister." Why? Why did this happen? These are questions that Jameson has had and continues to ask. "Daddy and Dada, what happened to my sister? Why did she die? Why would anyone hurt her? How about her glasses? Were they okay?" My God, how will we ever help him process this horrible and brutal details of his big sister? Adam, you have to know you did that. As we celebrated Jameson's birthday in 2019 with the Mickey and Minnie Mouse theme, we had Mickey Mouse there. It's a Disney theme that he shares with his big sister and his mom. He wanted to save a gift from her that day, made from his Nana. It was a Minnie Mouse pillow, but instead, you were beating her to death. That was the same day. If Jameson was old enough to speak to this court today, he would want you to know the void that you left in his heart that can never be filled. Adam, he would plead with you to please tell us where she is. Let him have a place to go and remember his sister, please. He remembers her feeding him. He remembers when they would be at his foster home when she was there, that they would play in the park together. He remembers her glasses. He remembers how proud she was. How do we tell our 7-year-old that you murdered his sister, his protector, his best friend, and you showed no remorse? I wish they could be happy together today. Jameson asked, is she unhappy in heaven? If she can see him, and if we can visit her, why would anyone hurt her? That's what you've done to her son when you beat his sister to death. In our family, we really believe in love and forgiveness. I'm just not sure how to teach her son how to forgive the monster that murdered his sister. We as a family are leaning on God for that. Jameson also knows about the helpers. He knows about this court. He knows about the jury. He knows about the police from the local to federal. He knows about this community. We've told him these were the people that helped his sister when she was hurting. I'd like to share with you a few words that Jameson, as we were talking to him, because he wanted to know, where are you guys going? What are you doing? And I said, we're going to speak for your sister, and we're going to tell everyone how important she was to you. And this is what he said. Tell everyone my name is Jameson. I'm 7 years old. My sister's Harmony. I love Harmony. I miss her. I hope I get to see her again. My sister had beautiful blue eyes, and we smile alike. I liked having fun with her on the playground. She gave me a broken Elmo toy that was hers. I still have that, but I have the Minnie Mouse pillow and a new Elmo that's not broken. I keep it in my closet for her. I'm really sad she's an angel. I miss her. She was my best friend. I hope she can see me playing basketball, being silly with my brothers. And I wish I could bring Harmony to my school to meet my friends and my teacher. She loves the color purple and Minnie Mouse. I made a heart for her in purple and red with mirrors so I can look for her in heaven. I hope she sees me. The red is for my heart and the purple is for her. I love my sister. I miss her. I hope she's eating M&Ms in heaven. I hope her glasses are safe and not broken. And I miss you, and I will always love you, big sister. Thank you, Your Honor.
That was beautiful. I'm glad the judge let them do that.
Finally, with us today is Harmony's foster mother, Michelle Rafferty. Harmony was alive for 66 months in this world. And for 44 of those months, she was with the Raffertys, Michelle and her husband, Tim. They've both prepared a statement as well and would like to speak with you today.
I hope you're all doing okay. This is her foster mother who testified.
Your Honor, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak here today. This is truly the hardest thing I have ever had to do. My name is Michelle Raftery, and along with my husband and my 5 children, we have the privilege of being Harmony's foster family. We shared our hearts, our home, and our life with her, and she filled our lives with joy and laughter. We lost a daughter, and my children lost their sister. We grieve for her every day because we thought we'd always see her again. Harmony was full of life and always happy. We jokingly told her that she leaves a sparkle wherever she goes. She loved to be in the middle of everything that was going on, and she never missed a beat. Harmony always had 2 mummies, me and Crystal, but only had one daddy, and that was my husband, Tim. I am beyond grateful Harmony had the relationship with a loving daddy and knew what that relationship should look like. She loved being a sister and had an amazing bond with our youngest daughter. And when our second daughter had her baby, she was delighted to be an auntie. Harmony was a friend to everyone, but she also had a best friend named Dominic. She loved going to church and loved going to school. She loved Minnie Mouse, playing outside, playing dress up, playing house, and loved to cuddle. She had a large community that she loved, and they loved her. She was kind and compassionate and always willing to share, even her Oreo cookies and favorite doll stroller. Since everything came to light, I have had trouble sleeping and concentrating. We had to explain to our children things that we never wanted them to hear and explain to them why a father who was supposed to love and protect her was being arrested for murder. Your Honor, I'm asking you to give Adam the fullest sentence. Adam is hateful and selfish and continues to be so by not telling us where her body is. Adam knew he could have brought Harmony back to us. He had options, but always chose himself each time. He never put Harmony first. There were consequences for his actions, and he will have to live with them the rest of his life. Our family is strong and beginning to heal by the grace of God. We know Harmony is safe in the arms of Jesus, never to be hurt again. So despite the evil brought to light in this trial, we will continue to move forward in love because love wins. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's right. Sit in it, you monster.
Your Honor, in addition to those statements, the state is asking you to consider not only all of the details and the facts that you heard during trial, and not only as you would for any defendant, their criminal history, of which is laid out there and which this court is already well aware of. But we are also asking the court to take into account 2 additional charges which are still pending. Firearm that was belonging and was owned by a Mr. Ewell, and also a high point handgun. These are 2 charged but not yet adjudicated offenses that can be considered by the court when it comes to sentencing. We did not ask you to take the defendant's murder of his daughter into account at the last sentencing for the other firearms, given that it had occurred before her death. But these 2 not yet tried armed career criminal charges, offenses for weapons belonging to Mr. Ewell, and a high point handgun should be considered to show that the minimum does not apply to this man. The court is already aware of the defendant's statements to many other people, many other people through many different facets of his life, with regards to being asked where his daughter was and for him to lie to them. This was subject to many different interpretations. The court has discussed this on different different times, in different hearings. With regards to those events, and with regards also to the gun crimes that I speak of, Mr. Ewell's firearm and the high point handgun, we feel that the state has already shown the requisite level of certainty that the defendant has done these crimes. He's been indicted by the grand jury. We've discussed them. Parts of the evidence that support them have already been presented to the court, but we have also asked for Detective John Dunleavy to be present from the Manchester Police Department, who can provide additional information if the court so chooses to hear that. So at this point, I would leave it up to the court's discretion if and when the court should be considering those 2 charges as part of coming up with the appropriate sentence for the defendant today. But he is here in the courtroom.
All right, thank you. I don't feel that I need to hear from him at this juncture. If the court feels it necessary to hear from him, I will do so later. Thank you.
Thank you. Your Honor, one of the things that you saw during trial were the many different ways in which the defendant tried to conceal his crime, not just physically, but also with false statements and lies to others. Lies as to where she was, as to what had occurred, where it had occurred in the car, where he was at the time. Even lies, as you heard from some witnesses, as to whether or not he loved or cared for Harmony in the first place. You heard and saw the defendant try to sell his lies to anybody that would listen. And why does that matter? Because it's one thing to deny the charges that the state then and hold the state accountable to bring forth proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But it's another one to actively lie and deceive and blame others. And a defendant who does that, like this defendant did, is different and is deserving of more than the minimum punishment. You've even heard yourself how the defendant tried over and over again to get Kayla Montgomery to lie for him. The testimony we heard at trial included the verbal threats to her, beating her, photographs that we saw of her black eyes, testimony from other independent witnesses of him either hurting her or her running away, grabbing a cell phone out of her hands, manipulating her even months later to get rid of telephones that had evidence of crimes on them. You've seen those bruises, you've heard those stories from independent eyewitnesses. That was not just an attack on her, that was an attack on our system of justice. And to hold him accountable for that independently, consecutively, to the actual underlying crime of the homicide and the second-degree assault from before. As you've seen in this case, if we don't do that, if we don't hold people accountable for those actions afterwards, then the criminal justice system is failing because it allows defendants everywhere under the concept of general deterrence to think that they can tamper with witnesses and destroy evidence. And if they're caught, well, it'll just be subsumed by the underlying crime. That's another reason why the more than the minimum sentence is necessary. And finally, I'm not going to go into full detail on it, Your Honor, but you've seen in the state sentencing memorandum, there are 3 cases that are on point and when looking for comparison here. And those are State versus Caitlin Marin, State versus Mark Heath, and State versus Chad Evans, all cited in our sentencing memorandum. In those matters involved individuals who were convicted of reckless second-degree murder for injuring children. And all 3 of those individuals, either immediately after trial or at sentence review, all had sentences that were in their 40s. And all 3 of those people didn't have the criminal history that this defendant has. And all 3 of them didn't do afterwards to their victims and what they did to their bodies, what he did to harm them. So in the state's mind, how can the defendant here get anything less for that? His behavior is worse. When we look at that, if and when he should ask for sentence review after today, if they look at that, we don't feel that there's any way that they could equate that his behavior was less than theirs or that his punishment should be less than theirs. There's nothing about this little girl's death or her suffering or what her father did afterwards that can ever be classified as minimal. He is still determined 5 years later that she have no peace, no justice, no rest. So the state is asking you to do what justice requires, and that's nothing less than the state's recommended sentence. Harmony deserves it, her family deserves it, the people of the state deserve it, and definitely this defendant deserves it. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Smith?
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'd like to start reading from State versus Willie at 163 New Hampshire 532. We held that just as it is unconstitutional to increase a defendant's punishment because he refuses to admit guilt, so too is it unconstitutional for a court to draw an adverse inference of lack of remorse from a defendant's silence at sentencing. Because the only affirmative way for a defendant who maintains his innocence through the criminal process to express remorse at sentencing is to forgo his right to remain silent. Using a defendant's silence at sentencing to infer that he lacks remorse generally violates the defendant's constitutional privilege against self-incrimination. The state said that their offer to reduce or offer a reduced sentence of 35 years if Adam Montgomery took particular action within the next 7 days, and his reaction to that reflected heartless, immoral, no remorse. You can imagine, anybody can, that somebody walking into a sentencing hearing for something where he maintains his innocence that he did not do would be a difficult situation. That person would be assisted by his counsel, who would understand that being vilified for something that you didn't do would be difficult, who would understand that when people are trying to throw him away forever for something that you didn't do would be difficult in the courtroom. The state was doing a stunt. They were seeking a reaction today from Adam Montgomery in the courtroom by their stunt for something that they said, give us 7 days. And then Mr. Montgomery, acting appropriate with his counsel's representation, was called heartless, immoral, and no remorse. Mr. Montgomery does not have to express remorse here for something where he maintains his innocence. It would violate his constitutional rights against self-incrimination. And talk a little bit about the use of priors as argued in the state's memorandum to elevate what is a sentence as a mandatory minimum that is extraordinarily high. And it is high because anytime a child dies, an innocent child dies, deserves a strong punishment. And the legislature has spoken with a mandatory minimum of that punishment. The lack of rehabilitation is what the priors are put on for. I don't think anybody can permit what another person would be like after 35 years of incarceration. To assume the lack of rehabilitation for prior records that occurred from the time that Mr. Montgomery was quite young, that many, fueled by drug and drug addiction that was introduced to his life by some of the very witnesses, family members, wives, who participated in maintaining his addiction and in a lot of the conduct that he did in the prior record. He is worthy of rehabilitation, especially after what would be the mandatory minimum under this sentence. The use of the remaining charges also are inappropriate here. You did not consider the charge of homicide at his prior sentencing on the armed career criminal charges that he faced May a year ago. But you did consider the armed career criminal charges, or at least you didn't indicate that you didn't. And the state certainly argued that they should be considered as well. All of that conduct occurred in a relatively short time period. And while we dispute the probable cause, even the law says that you can consider the grand jury indictment as probable cause, which I think is completely inappropriate, but that is the law. However, his sentences on armed career criminal took into account both his prior and his subsequent gun charges. He's serving a sentence currently of what comes to be about 32, because he got 15 as a minimum on one, 15 as a minimum on another. The 5 years of the 7-year minimum on the final charge that you sentenced him on, you suspended 2 years. Didn't even totally give him the max on that, but certainly increased his sentence in your evaluation of his prior conduct, as well as the pending gun charges. Another issue I need to address, and I'm afraid we only addressed part of it in chambers, my fault. The names of the no contact order I don't have, so we don't have a position on that as far as the names. However, since the state has asked for an incarcerated sentence on each of the charges, I don't believe a no contact order can be issued on the charges under interpretation of current law. However, I will say that the names will be provided to Adam, and I can assure this court that Adam will not seek any contact with the Sorey family. So sorry, family. So, what do you do for sentencing Adam Montgomery? Adam Montgomery does not dispute the time sought by the state for abuse of corpse and falsifying evidence. The state has requested maximum sentences on that consecutive, and Adam does understand that it in fact affected the investigation and that behavior affects justice in the court system. And he does not dispute the sentences requested by the state on that. However, while he maintains his innocence, he also knows that you will be sentencing him on the other charges because he has been convicted, and any other action he takes will have to be after sentencing. So as to the other charges, while he maintains his innocence on each of them, he can't offer a sentence because no sentence would be fair for him to say that they would be fair when he is maintaining his innocence and he did not commit those charges. So he can't offer you something that's appropriate for them, but he would request that you take into account his objections to the memorandum and especially his silence here at sentencing as being an appropriate position to take when he is asserting his innocence. We request that the court issue a sentence that is less than what the state has asked, and that it make the remaining charges concurrent with abuse of corpse and falsifying evidence. Adam Montgomery did not kill his daughter, but when he discovered his daughter's death, he broke, and he did inexplicable things. Even he can't explain his actions, but eventually he pulled it together and he was able to say goodbye to his daughter. And that's what he did. If I may have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
Actually,
Yeah, like what happened to that hair?
my co-counsel has reminded me of something, and again, this was something that was not in the sentencing memorandum, and it was last minute, and it is the stunt that was pulled by the state, and it is that plea offers, responses, negotiations are inadmissible, and I think that they are inadmissible for any purpose, including sentencing. Certainly, I know in other cases, if I was to say the state offered something pretrial and now they're seeking twice that, the state would shut me down under that rule. 410? 410. So I think that entire stunt should be stricken from the record as well.
Done.
Briefly, Your Honor, I made no such comment about plea offers that were made prior to trial in any way, shape, or form. When I called the defendant heartless, immoral, selfish, and unapologetic, and in doing so, it's about the two crimes that he has admitted that he has done. It's the falsifying physical evidence and it's the abuse of corpse, which he admitted and even told the jury that they could find him guilty of. Those are the ones relating to the placement of the body. There's no reason to hold on to that piece of information with regards to that. The statement is not offering anything because this completely lies within the hands of the court. The statement is to make the change of what the state's recommendation would be. It's not an offer of a guaranteed sentence in any way, shape, or form. And again, it's on those charges, the one where he does not maintain his innocence anymore, falsifying physical evidence and abuse of a corpse. I think just separately, Your Honor, with regards to the victims that the state is asking for the no contact order, that would include Crystal Sorey and her family, Sorey. That would also include the Miller family, Your Honor, and that would be Harmony's brother's family, and as well as the Rafferty family. I can provide those spellings to the court monitor afterwards. I think those are the only additional things that the state wants to add.
Attorney Gotti, what do you say to the state v. toll issue that's raised by the defense about the no contact order on stand committed sentences, where all of the sentences that you're asking for in this case are stand committed, but you're also asking for the no contact provision?
Your Honor, I think with regards to that, rather than to prolong this particular hearing, the state would then also ask for a $5,000 fine on each felony for that to be suspended for the period so that the no contact order can be obeyed during that time period. And if he violates the no contact order, then that could be imposed.
Suspended for what period?
I would say suspended for a period of, well, on the 2 Class B misdemeanors, I would say suspended for at least a period of 7 years upon the beginning of that serving of that sentence. And for the charge of second-degree murder, I would say beginning on for a 20-year time period, beginning when he starts serving that sentence.
Do you want to address that, Attorney Smith? I'm just thinking about that for a moment. I mean, Attorney Agati, on that, the consequence of a violation of the order would be the imposition of the fine.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
For clarity in sentencing, I think 5,000 is illegal for any one of those charges, although certainly combinations of certain charges can equal that amount. I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, because as I said, with regard to the family, Crystal Sorey and her family, Mr. Montgomery will not be reaching out to any of them.
All right, thank you. Counsel, approach for just a minute.
Man, oh man, just looking at him gives nervous energy. He can't stop chewing on the inside of his mouth. He's sticking out his tongue. It's a very I don't know if he's on something or if it's just a nervous twitch, but he's definitely a person who's filled with some sort of energy that he's constantly having to get out. And he uses his mouth for that a lot. I don't interpret his body language as bored. I interpret his body language as wanting to jump out of his, yes, rage is more like it, wanting to jump out of his seat. He wants to be able to control what his lawyer is saying, how she says it. He probably has discussed for how, kind of mealy mouth and sort of weak his defense attorney is. He probably wants somebody who seems like him, is as strong and, warrior-like as he is, right? But she's more like Budget Elaine,
All right, nothing further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Nothing further from you, Attorney Smith?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to take a 15-minute recess so I can consider all of the information and statements that have been provided, and then I'll come back and announce my sentence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right.
Wow. So they're going to take a recess. So that she can consider everything before she comes up with the actual sentencing. So let's chat a little bit about this. What did you all think? What were the statements that most impacted you? Let's take a little bit of a look at what the room looks like. Rental attorneys are us. There's a lot of comforting in the room, which is nice. Seems very calm. People are have finally been able to get their they've been waiting a long time to say the words that they said. So people are saying Jameson's dads were the most impactful to them. Yeah, they all did phenomenal besides Kayla. Adopted dad. 2 dads for sure. So for me, the second lady that got up, I think that might have been, I forget who that was. I think it was Kayla's aunt. It might have been Crystal's sister. I don't know who that was. I didn't hear her name, but I really appreciated the anger. I feel like she expressed our absolute contempt and disgust for her absolute contempt and disgust. Okay, so that was Crystal's sister, Tess Mack. So the absolute contempt and disgust and anger and vitriol that we feel, I felt was expressed through Crystal's sister. Yeah, that's what I thought too, Harlot. When Jameson's dad got up and spoke, that was absolutely heartbreaking. Hearing, this is little Jameson with his sister. Look how cute they are. Look how much they look alike. They look so much alike. And you hear them talk a lot about how he mentioned her glasses all the time. And that's so adorable because that means, those glasses are so symbolic of harmony to him, and they mean something to him. And it's kind of like a caretaking, it was something that helped Harmony see, right? It's a very nurturing, caretaking thought about her glasses. And apparently I saw an interview with one of the dads, and he said that Jameson has those glasses, which is really nice. It's really, really nice that Jameson has these glasses that are so important to him and remind him of his big sister and how much she loved him. And you can imagine, when you're a little tiny kid and you have your big sister and she's looking at you, you're seeing those glasses and you're seeing love through those glasses. Right? And, Stacy, me too. Whenever, that watching all of these court cases play out in these, and, especially a situation like this, always puts me in my place in terms of my own, feelings about whatever is going on in my life. Yeah, I have my grandfather's glasses, and they still smell like him, and I treasure them. And my grandfather died in 1995, and they still smell like him, you guys. Isn't that crazy? So the glasses probably still smell like her. It's amazing to think that like a pair of glasses that sit on your head can still carry, can absorb the oils, from your skin and your hair. And I so much that they will still carry the scent years later. So what I want to do now is see if there's anything going on outside of the courtroom, if anybody's talking. Hold on one moment while I check around, and if anybody sees anything, feel free to let me know in the One moment, please. So I don't know if y'all saw it, but this is what it looked like. That's what it looked like when Adam turned around and looked right at the camera. Did you all see that? Adam turned right around and looked right at the camera. And it was a weird moment because for one thing, it right at that moment, he had right at that moment there was buffering on the stream. So he like turned around, stared at the camera, and then there was buffering, and then the buffering stopped and he had turned back around. But it was very freaky. So anybody asking, he has not been sentenced yet. They are on a break. They are currently on a break. The judge is currently considering the arguments from the state and the defense about sentencing guidelines and their arguments, and said they would come back in 15 minutes with the actual sentencing. So he, you know, as we were watching his lawyer, as we were watching the impact statements, we really couldn't see his expression because the way the camera set up, the people were blocking the view of him. We really couldn't see him. But then when the prosecution was up arguing about, sentencing guidelines and stuff, all we could do was see him staring down at his lawyer's notes. And to me, it looked like he was almost trying to know exactly what words she was writing down, controlling the words that were being written down, needing to weigh in on every tiny little thing that was being done. They check in with him on every single point. I did Cutie Pie, and I'll address that in a moment. Thank you. So, but you could tell that really wasn't all he was paying attention to. He was also paying, in his periphery vision, paying attention to everybody else that was in court around him. He's in my view, he's an extremely self-conscious person. Okay. So he kept in his periphery view how many people are behind him, what is the makeup of the courtroom, and then he was choosing his moment when he could turn around and maybe get a look at exactly where the camera is. And this was the moment when he did it. Yeah, probably, Johnny. Probably. Or maybe he thought that it would, work out for him. Maybe if I have a female lawyer, I'll I'll have more sympathy. There'll be more sympathy. So, now Cutie Pie reminds me that we were talking earlier about whether Kayla is locked up or not. And there's some confusion around that. And she sent me a screenshot of, and I don't think I'll be doxing anybody if I show this screenshot. Right, Cutie. I don't think there's any I identifying information on this screenshot, but just let me look at it real carefully first. And if you're just joining, just so you know, we are waiting for the judge to come back after while she is considering sentencing. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. I think this is okay. One moment, please. One moment, please. By the way, just so you know, this is where Alex Cox is right now from the Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow situation. I fully believe this is where Adam Montgomery belongs. Okay. I agree, Queen Bella. I don't think he'll ever tell where the baby is. Okay, so this is from Vine Links. It apparently sends out alerts for when when someone gets released from prison. And this database, according to this database, she is still in custody. However, I will say, I've been covering true crime for about 3-4 years now, and I've been following true crime for a little longer than, a lot longer than that, but really, really closely following true crime for about 3-4 years. My understanding is that these apps that compile data from various agencies, sometimes they don't update immediately. Sometimes they don't update, they aren't as updated as we might think. So this might be true that she's still incarcerated, and it says, as of, it says custody status date November 2nd, 2023, but she was supposed to have been let out like in March of this year, I believe. Yeah. It was like March of this year. So my understanding is that she has been let out. So these apps sometimes don't update as quickly as as they might. But anyway, so just wanted to cover. Yeah, and it was on the news that she was released. I don't think they showed any video of her being released. Let me see. Like when you type in Kayla Montgomery released, it it only comes up with what happened a year ago. Let me see here. Hold on a moment. Yeah, it says here's this oh gosh, I clicked on the wrong story with too many. This is the court TV report about it. And this report is from March 1st. The woman who confessed to witnessing Harmony Montgomery's murder and hiding the child's body for months may soon walk out of prison a free woman. And yeah, I do remember seeing reports that she was actually released after this. Yeah, is expected to be released in May. The estranged wife of a New Hampshire man convicted of killing his 5-year-old daughter and moving the body around for months was granted parole on Thursday, more than a year after she was sentenced to prison for lying about where she was when the child was last seen. Kayla is expected to be released in May, days before her husband is scheduled to be sentenced. She was ordered to complete mandatory prison programs related to substance abuse treatment and have an approved home plan. She will be under intense supervision. So I guess the question is, do we have something more updated about, let's see, the Laconia Daily Sun on March 8th has a story about her release March 7th. The Laconia Daily Sun. Well, it actually says that this story from March 8th, I found, is this the story that you're talking about? Because it is on March 8th, and it says that she is expected to be released on May 3rd. But she also has to be in a sober living facility for 90 days. So, anyway, but regardless of whether she's out or not, I'm absolutely livid that she thought that it was okay and appropriate for her to write a victim impact statement that had literally nothing to do with Harmony, but was more of a love letter, a goodbye letter to him, an apology letter, and then a victim impact statement about his abuse of her. Now, yes, he abused her. We understand that. That was terrible. But that's not what this trial is about. The trial was about the death of a 5-year-old girl. And yeah, I felt really bad for that victim advocate that had to get up and write that. You know, it's so and it just shows you how incredibly twisted these people's minds are. No matter how drastic a situation is, no matter how victimized another person is, some people cannot let go of their own selfish, they can't see past their own nose, their own victimization, their own their own world. That's right, Johnny. A lot like that. I'm going to be honest with you. I had a little more sympathy, not much, but a tiny bit more sympathy for Kayla before she did that. But when she took the fucking opportunity, it's like, it was like she was using she was using Harmony again. Agree, Stacy. She was using Harmony again to get to Adam, meaning just as a conduit to the person that she really cared about. And, Tess Mack, I don't think I heard her mention the name Harmony once in that thing, but I may have missed it. Don't quote me on that. And in all honesty, I don't feel like going back and listening to it again to hear it, because it's so disrespectful to Harmony's memory. I could almost hear and feel the disgust in that room of like, what the hell? Is this about you, or is this about Harmony? And it goes to show that that incident, that event had so little impact on her life. The only impact that event had on her life was breaking her up from Adam. No, I'm not going to play it again, Tyke. Don't worry. The main impact that Harmony's death had on her life was losing Adam. Right? Oh, did Crystal leave the courtroom? I didn't notice that. It's shameful. It's shameful, really. It's shameful. It's deplorable, and I think it's instructive for us, right? To be able to differentiate what true love is and what absolute selfish, sick, twisted, self-absorbed, toxic, non-love is. So it looks like they're coming back. There is no
human life, and you did so in the most callous and heartless of ways. You robbed a 5-year-old girl, your own daughter, of the life that she was to lead. You stole from your sons a sister. You took a daughter from her mother. You were convicted of reckless second-degree murder. Reckless in this context does not mean something that was an accident. It is defined under law as something that manifests the extreme indifference to a human life. Your extreme indifference to the value of human life is seen in so many of your actions in this case. In 2019, you beat Harmony. In the words of your uncle, her eye was fully black and blue like a raccoon eye, is what he said. Your words, when asked, were, quote, "I bashed her around the effing house." And then you hid her from the view of others, and you kept her from those that came to help her. On the date that you murdered her, you didn't hit her once. You punched her in the head repeatedly. You beat her in the car while at stoplights, more than one time. You knew that she was severely injured, yet you covered her with a blanket and didn't check on her until after you took her lifeless body from the car. And then, after her death, you treated her body like it was trash, worse than trash. You did unimaginable things to her body, and all in an effort to save yourself from being discovered as her murderer. And then on top of that, you threatened, abused, and beat your wife to keep her silent. Your criminal history similarly reflects your extreme indifference to the value of human life. Your actions having taken both a physical and emotional toll on so many. In 2008, you were convicted of criminal threatening after pointing a knife at a 15-year-old girl. In 2010, you were convicted of armed robbery and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon in a home invasion incident in which it was reported that you held up a woman at gunpoint, terrorizing her to the point that she lost control of her bodily functions. In 2009, you were convicted of first-degree assault for stabbing another person. In 2014, you were convicted of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon and larceny in a case in which it was reported that you shot a man in the face. In 2019, you were convicted of 2 counts of armed career criminal, 2 counts of theft, and 2 counts of receiving stolen property, all of the charges stemming from the thefts of firearms, guns, exchanges of guns for drugs and money. The court has to consider 3 primary goals of sentencing: punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation. The focus today is on your convictions in this case: second-degree murder, falsifying physical evidence, witness tampering, abuse of a corpse, and second-degree assault. But the prior convictions are important, and they're important as well, as each of them reflects not just your extensive criminal conduct, but each of them represents an opportunity after sentencing for you to have changed the trajectory of your life, to change how you were treating other people. But you were either unwilling or unable to do so. And as a result, at this point, the court has the responsibility to impose a sentence that not only punishes you harshly for the crimes that you have committed, but considers deterrence, that is, how to keep you from hurting others. In light of the egregious nature of the crimes of which you have been convicted in this case, and taking into consideration your extremely violent criminal history, the court finds the only way to do this is to keep you off the streets. To the extent you seek to rehabilitate yourself, that will have to happen behind the prison walls. Harmony was an innocent 5-year-old girl. You treated her in the worst of possible ways, in both her life and in her death. Therefore, the court sentences you as follows. On charge ID 2027112C, the charge of second-degree murder, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than life nor less than 45 years. That sentence is stand committed. That sentence is consecutive. All of these sentences, I should say now, are consecutive to each other, as well as consecutive to docket 216-2022 CR 577, which are the sentences that you're currently serving. Additionally, you're to participate meaningfully and complete any counseling, treatment, or education programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation. Law enforcement agencies may return evidence to its rightful owner. You are ordered to be of good conduct and comply with all the terms of this sentence. This is also consecutive to the second-degree assault charge in the docket ending in 20. That is charge ID 1937947C. Do you have any questions about that sentence?
Nope.
On charge ID 2027113C, falsifying physical evidence. On this charge, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor 3.5 years. This sentence is stand committed, consecutive to all of the other charges that I'm about to read you, as well as consecutive to the second-degree assault charge and the docket ending in 20 and the sentences that you are presently serving. You do have the obligation, as with the other sentences, to meaningfully participate in programming as directed by the correctional authority or probation. Parole, you're ordered to be of good conduct and comply with all the terms of that sentence. On the charge of tampering with witnesses and informants, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor less than 3.5 years. Again, this sentence is consecutive to the additional sentences that I've read to you in that I'm reading to you in this case, as well as docket ending in 20 and the sentences that you are presently serving. You have the same obligations for participation in programming, and law enforcement may return evidence to its rightful owner. On the abuse of corpse charge, on this charge, you are sentenced to the maximum penalty of 12 months at the House of Correction. All of this sentence is suspended for 25 years. If it were to be imposed, it would be consecutive to the sentences that I read to you. And on this charge, you will also have the provision of a no contact order, and that is no contact with the Sorey family, the Miller family, and the Rafferty family. That sentence is also consecutive were it to be imposed to all of the other sentences in this case and the sentence you're currently serving. On the second degree assault charge ID 1937947C, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 8 years nor less than 4 years. This sentence is consecutive to the sentences in docket 216-2022 CR 2372. This is charge ID 1937947C. On this charge, you have the additional requirement, as you have in the other cases, to meaningfully participate in programming. Law enforcement agencies may return evidence to its rightful owner, and you're obligated to be of good behavior and comply with all the terms of the sentence. Do you have any question about those sentences?
No, I do not.
All right, before you go, counsel, approach, please.
Good riddance. Evil monster. I can't make out that tattoo. Bye, evil queen. Have fun with your grandchild.
The sentences that I just reviewed with you, Mr. Montgomery, are imposed in light of the extended period of incarceration. The court will also make the finding that you do not have an ability to pay your attorney's fees, so there will not be an obligation for those in these matters. The clerk will now address you regarding sentence review.
Montgomery, you are hereby notified that you have the right to apply
Bye-bye.
the state prison sentence imposed on you on May 9th, 2024. The application may be filed within 30 days after the date of the sentence, but not thereafter except for good cause shown. If you file such an application, your sentence will be reviewed by a board of 3 members who will be either judicial referees and/or superior court judges. Review of the sentence may result in a decrease or increase of the minimum or maximum term within the limits fixed by law, or there may be no change in the sentence. A form for making application, if you wish to do so, is set forth below. Mr. Montgomery, this applies for both cases 216-2022 CR 20 and 216-2022 CR 237.
I hope he gets cavity searches.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Anything further from the state?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything further from you, Attorney Smith?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Good riddance. Go to hell. You'll see Alex Cox in there. He's waiting. Family filing out. Well, you know, I have to say, yeah, he was restrained by his hands. He had restraints around his hands. That's right. Rot in hell. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. being respectful in the chat. I think it felt rather satisfying to hear the judge, the judge come at him, for some of the victims to come at him for, it was not very satisfying to hear Kayla's statement, but it also verified what we already knew about her. I appreciate you all being here and joining me for this. I'm just going to share some links if you care to support, but not expected, just sharing in case. And wherever you go today, just remember that there are kids out there. Sorry. Oops, oops, oops. Hold on. This is why, this is what it was all for. Just remember that. This is what it was all for. And it was a long time coming, and I hope you all feel as, I went robotic, and then, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Rest in peace, child. Justice for you. That justice was for you. You beautiful, sweet angel who could have changed the world if you were able to grow up. Peace to Harmony and all of her hurting loved ones today. Love you all. Thank you for being here. Hug your loved ones. And I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.